Brothers, as the Republicans would like to call us. But recently, many people on the right have been accusing myself and Chris of being paid by the DNC. And we just wanted to come on and say that's an incredibly dumb thing to think.
Yeah, like congratulations, you discovered we're both signed to Pallet Management, which is in our bios. And Pallet's a huge company, right? They do marketing work, they do management work. So they receive that money to do marketing and to cover travel expenses separate from what we do. So we haven't seen a dime of that $200,000. Like, do you really think I would dress like this if I had $200,000? And again, it's all public information. And we're also, you discovered we're Democrats, and we're going to vote for Joe Biden, which I think most people already knew.
And look, if the DNC is handing out checks, we should be first in line to receive them. But that's simply not happening, and we haven't received a dime from the DNC. And we want to make it clear.
We haven't received a dime from the DNC, and we want to make it clear. And what's going to come is going to be bullcrap.
We're perfectly happy to work with organizations that share our vision. So if someone reached out to us and say, hey, we're trying to make sure the environment is protected, would love to work with them. But we are simply not working with the DNC. And we want to reiterate that everything that's been posted on social media is public information. This is not a home run story. It's all out there for everybody to see.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we're going to go continue our normal content like people want to see. Maybe we'll go hang out with Hillary and Hunter on an island or something, but not the home run story you think it is.
Well,
and we love
brother.
Well, that's a bizarre thing to just throw in there. Now, so this was posted by someone who I'm now following called Donut Operator. And his question was, why'd y'all delete this video? For those of you who don't know, this, I believe they're brothers, the Sisson Brothers, Harry J. Sisson. He's got a very vocal, very active Twitter following. Before I even get too far into this, let me make sure that we are currently streaming on everything. I was a little late because I'm an idiot and I didn't have the right camera plugged in. Are we currently streaming on Rumble? We are. Are we currently streaming on Locals? We are. Now let's get into this. Let's watch it just one more time because it's like it happens so fast that you sometimes can't really keep up with the dishonesty. Let's just start from the beginning here.
Brothers, as the Republicans would like to call us. But recently, many people on the right have been accusing myself and Chris of being paid by the DNC. And we just wanted to come on and say that's an incredibly dumb thing to think.
Yeah.
It's not wrong, by the way. It's just an incredibly dumb thing to notice. There's no denial there. We're not getting a dime from the DNC. Not that it's wrong. It's an incredibly dumb thing to think. Listen to this.
Congratulations, you discovered we're both signed to Pallet Management, which is in our bios.
Pallet Management may be in your bio. The fact that Pallet Management is contracting with the DNC is probably not in your bio. The fact that they do it, though public in theory, might not be that apparent to people who might follow you. But yeah, so you're signed to Pallet, whatever it is, who contracts with the DNC. We'll get there.
And Pallet's a huge company, right? They do marketing work, they do management work. So they receive that money to do marketing and to cover travel expenses separate from what we do. So we haven't seen a dime of that $200,000. Like, do you really think I would dress like this if I had $200,000?
I had to Google it. I won't get to that part of it. I had to Google, fancy hoodies. There are a lot of ridiculously expensive hoodies out there. I actually found one. Maybe I'm gonna have to pull this up just so that we can have a good laugh at things. There was a hoodie. It had installment plans to pay for the hoodie. I have to actually bring it up because it's, this one I think is it right here. Hold on. There was a hoodie that was so expensive, you could pay for it you could lease your hoodie for the low price of $110 a month. Yeah, I think this one's it right here. So I know it's not the same hoodie. All that I'm saying is, we
haven't seen a dime.
It could be close. Look at the little brown tips. Like I tried to look for identifiable factors. Look at the brown tips on the hoodie on this guy. And then look at this one here. Fifth Avenue Saks. Like, look at those brown. We zooming in. They got the brown tips on it. Like, I'm looking for a trademark sign of a hoodie that might actually be a little bit of money. Doesn't matter. It's Saks Fifth Avenue. Saks Fifth Avenue. $1,350, as low as $113 a month. I don't often judge people, but I'm going to do it now. If you put a hoodie on an installment payment plan, you're an idiot. unless it's I'll say this, unless it's a very cheap hoodie and you actually have to install payment plans on clothing, which is not funny. If you go out and buy a $1,300 hoodie and you have to pay for it in installments, you're an idiot. But they're evidence that they're not getting paid by the DNC, that they haven't seen a penny of that $200,000, that they haven't received a dime from the DNC. Is that would I really be? You might, because I've seen some ridiculously stupid clothing out there that costs a ridiculous, stupid amount of money. The only problem with what they've said, the only problem with it might be the fact that it's actually a lie. Hold on. Where is the? Oh, here we go. The only problem is what they're saying is it might be a lie. Here you go. Look at Harry Sisson's. By the way, for those of you who don't know, these are Democrat influencers, or they're influencers who are Democrat. And now we know, Brooklyn Defiant Dad paid by the DNC. These guys paid through their, where is it here? Harry J. Sisson. Oh yeah, Harry at Pallet Management, which contracts with the DNC. We'll get there. By the way, 600,000 on TikTok. So he not only is a Democratic operative, or apparently, or at least a proud spokesperson while working for a management company that contracts with the DNC. They spread that message on the Chinese spy app known as TikTok. But look at this. Ed Krasenstein, who occasionally tells the truth by accident. I'm being mean. The Krasenstein brothers, you might have seen them. They are also, I suspect that they might also be remunerated for posting. I don't know, because nothing could explain the sheer vigorousness with which they go out and defend Joe Biden, despite all logic, despite all evidence. Krasenstein, it was yesterday or today, I don't remember when it was, put out this tweet. His tweet said, in my opinion, this community notes, because they put a community note saying that they're paid operatives. I forgot what the community note said. Entry on a video released by Harry Sisson and Chris Mowry is completely unwarranted. Fact. Harry Sisson is not paid by the DNC. He's employed by a company that was contracted by the DNC for social media work in 2022. There's an expression that I love called the distinction without a difference. They don't pay me. They pay him who pays me to do the work that they want me to do anyhow. That's called influence laundering. Fact, Harry Sisson asked the White House for press briefing passes and received them because he is deemed part of the media. To imply that Harry is a Democratic operative is out of line. Thanks for your opinion, Ed, but I think you pretty much proved it earlier on in your tweet. This would also mean that everyone who works for Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, Twitter, Facebook, etc., are political operatives because the company they work for has received advertising contracts. That's a very bad analogy. But I think a lot of us would agree that a lot of people working for Twitter or old Twitter were, in fact, Democrat operatives. James Baker, the ex-external counsel for the FBI, who became an executive at Twitter. I think a lot of people would say that when a company donates 90+% to a certain political party and then goes out and manipulates social media to influence and favor that party that they've made the donations to, I think a lot of us would say that they're actually operatives. We haven't received a dime from the DNC, Harry J. Sisson. Yes, that's because you receive it from a company that receives it from the DNC, because that's how they cover their tracks. They cover their tracks so that they can then say, look, well, it was public all along. You're an idiot for not having known it. But it's not, it's not on their bios that they work for a company that contracts for social media content for the DNC. All right. Winston Shittenhouse says, join me for Winston After Dark, where tonight I shall be twerking to the sounds of Holding Out for a Hero. Let me read a few of the super chats before I bring Barnes in. I got to do the sponsor of tonight's episode. Ian, LOL, those kids are paid by a company, paid by the DNC. So not Democrat shills. All right. There was one more, and I'll give the standard intro, standard disclaimers, bring Barnes in. Oh, we got some good stuff coming. Hold on. I missed one chat. Here it is. This one right here. Breaking stock market booms after Winston announces the publication of his memoirs. The heck did Winston turn into like a meme here? Cheryl Gage, last week you were about to comment on Jeremy Boring's commercial. I thought that Jeremy's razor video was genius. Okay, thank you very much. Standard disclaimers. No medical advice, no election fortification advice, no legal advice. YouTube takes 30% of those things that we call super chats. If you want to support us on Rumble, Rumble has the equivalent called Rumble Rants. Ordinarily, Rumble takes 20%, but they're not doing that for the remainder of 2023. 100% goes to the creator because Rumble is awesome. If you want to support us, you can go to vivabarneslaw.locals.com where you can become a member, a non-paying, non-supporting member, get tons of great stuff, become of a community, or you can choose to support $7 a month, $70 a year, or more if some people actually want to do that. And we're going to be coming out with our first Content Plus behind the scenes of our Chattanooga meet and greet. That's going to be beautiful. Viva seems a bit caffeinated. No, but I got a pimple that I had to stop squeezing, but I can't stop squeezing it because I got a problem. Oh yeah, sponsor of the bar. I say Barnes is the backdrop. He's getting a little. Okay, hold on. Share screen. You may have noticed it says this video contains a paid sponsor, and it does. Fieldofgreens.com, people. This is their new lean weight loss machine, whatever it is. It's like something that invigorates the metabolism. I actually ingest this product, Field of Greens, desiccated powdered fruits and vegetables, not a supplement, not an extract. It's a food. It's USDA organic approved. Most people don't know you're supposed to have 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Most people don't have that because people are not healthy, and they should be. 1 spoonful is 1 serving of fruits and vegetables, all of the antioxidants, nutrients, all that stuff. Twice a day, that's 2 servings of fruits and vegetables. It's healthy. It's a healthy habit. They've got the lean weight loss stuff for those who are trying to metabolize and do all that good stuff. Viva, what is it? No, it's not. Fieldofgreens.com, promo code Viva for 15% off your order. It's good. I have it. I use it. I also exercise and I also eat tons of greens, but go to fieldofgreens.com, promo code Viva, and thank them for being a sponsor. Let's bring on the Barnes. We got a good show tonight. Okay, stop screen. Bring on the Barnes. 3, 2, 1. Robert, sir, how goes the battle?
Good.
Robert, you're wearing I know it's called Seersucker now.
The shirt, I guess, kind of. I mean, a real Seersucker suit is was at what I wore at the Ramble, the Riverboat Ramble. And it's made of a kind of material that's very adjustable, designed in the South because it was good in multiple weather, particularly warm weather. You can wrinkle it up and unwrinkle it quickly, things like that.
What the term Seersucker, does it have I tried to look it up and then I got distracted and forgot. What is it? What's the historical meaning? Do you know?
That I don't know.
Okay, and it's SEER sucker, not like I thought it was a Sears sucker. Like I thought it was supposed to be an insult of a suit from Sears, but then it's kind of cool and I liked it. I looked it up and it dries quickly. The British used to use them. Robert, I think we've seen the book over your shoulder once before, so we don't need to do that. Cigar in your mouth before I forget.
Tatuaje 10 Years. And yeah, that's To Seek a Newer World by Robert Francis Kennedy, his last book that he wrote prior to his 1968 campaign, as part of his 1968 campaign and prior to his assassination.
All right. And now, Robert, we've got a show and a half tonight, and there's some stuff that's going to be sensitive stuff that the world is weird, but we have to talk about what's on the menu, and then we get started.
So here's our top 12 topics in chronological order. We also have a bonus topic off the top and a bonus topic at the end before we answer questions from tippers and chatters exclusively in the after party show at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. The top bonus topic off tonight that was popularly requested at Locals and elsewhere was, does Tucker's contract allow Fox to censor him? So we'll get to that right off the top. And then at the end, our last bonus topic, Beyonce sues the Internal Revenue Service. What's that all about? Brief introduction to tax court. But first, we'll have the Carroll versus Trump trial, where we'll do our first version of the verdict by Viva. If Viva was on the jury, does he does he send Carroll to the penthouse, or does he send her to the nut house? Based on the outcome of what he's seen so far from the trial. You've seen more of that than I have, or followed it more than I have. I've followed bits and pieces. Then we got Crowder versus Crowder. We're not going to get into the interpersonal aspect of that. We're going to look at how do you look at evidence. How can you look at the source of evidence to tell you something that you can infer about the substance of the evidence, and some procedural aspects that are universally applicable, independent of the Crowder versus Crowder divorce proceedings themselves. A lot of people ask that we not spend much time on it. We're looking at a different aspect of it, not looking at the interpersonal aspect of it. Then we have Disney versus DeSantis. That Legal Mindset has done some great breakdowns on that because his expertise happens to be in the exact very rare, unusual area that concerns that litigation. Election law cases in North Carolina and in the 11th Circuit concerning Florida's election law reforms. A little Twitter debate, both of us engaged in with Michael Tracey concerning RFK Jr. The Brooke Jackson Pfizer case filed a motion to amend the judgment to allow us to amend the complaint. We'll explain what that's about. We'll also be putting up the motion and the amended complaint at vivabarneslaw.locals.com later this week. At SCOTUS, the death penalty. Is the Supreme Court going to allow an innocent man, according to the Oklahoma Attorney General, to be executed? The Second Amendment, big wins in Illinois and big cases in Colorado. Harvey Weinstein ally, someone that there hasn't been a lot of talked about, sued under the same change in the statute of limitations that's allowing Carroll to sue, going after other executives connected to, guess who? Disney and Harvey Weinstein for sexual assault. Eva Green, a wonderful actress, wins a UK verdict about a film called A Patriot. Trans cases, we got two different ones. One concerns speech in schools and the pronoun issues in California. The other one concerns lawsuits against Tennessee trans laws. Do they violate parental rights? Do they violate other rights? We have Credit Suisse. The fallout from that continues with class actions being filed by retail investors. So there are 12 top topics plus a bonus at the top and a bonus at the end, and questions exclusively in the after party at Locals.
And because our crowd is above average, Robert, Kimmy Deary says seersucker. The word originates from the Persian word sheer and shakar, literally meaning milk and sugar, from the gritty texture sugar and the otherwise smooth milk cloth. And now we know.
Yeah. There's no better proof that the members of vivabarneslaw.locals.com is above average than the fact that at our event in Chattanooga, they literally saved a life. You won't get into much detail about it, but that's how someone came up to me afterwards. Renee, my executive assistant, is a former nurse. She spotted the issue. Brooke Jackson was there in attendance. She's a nurse. She spotted the issue. Two doctors stepped in, saved the day. And I remember afterwards, somebody came up to me and he said, "I guess you weren't kidding when you said everybody's above average at vivabarneslaw.locals.com."
And those doctors have a thank you coming. But there was a medical emergency and incredible. And it also highlights the importance of knowing CPR and first aid.
Yeah, and all kinds of medical treatment. That's someone that, had that gentleman been anywhere else, likely his life is not saved. Because he came to the event and because the people were there at that event, his life was saved because the medical emergency was independent of the event. So the credit to those doctors, credit to Renee, my executive assistant, who's a nurse. People say, why'd you hire an executive assistant that used to be a nurse? For reasons like that.
Robert, I'm going to bring up the video before we get into. We're starting with Trump, right?
Tucker. Our bonus topic off the top topic is, can Fox censor Tucker through 2024?
Well, Robert, I am now starting to think that maybe my initial assessment was too superficial. At the first, I said that they're getting rid of Tucker to throw him under the bus for that near $1 billion settlement that they agreed to pay. It didn't make much sense, but from a public PR perspective, they could make it look like they're firing Tucker to make right of their wrong, except Tucker was probably the only one at Fox openly criticizing Sidney Powell. So I said, that can't be the case. Then I said, okay, it's because he came out and he was critical of Big Pharma. He basically made Fox News look like the scoundrels that they might be by being beholden to pharma that affects the way they cover things. But he wasn't talking about Fox News when he did his commentary, but he clearly was. And now I'm just thinking, see what's going on in the news, and it's going to segue into Crowder later on. Are they just trying to shut populist peoples up and down? Shut them down, shut them out for 2024. So because Fox News is not hiding anything, hated Trump, probably, I don't think they like Trump. And this looks like it's part and parcel of just shutting down the populist voices come 2024. And really all the other stuff is sort of secondary. And if that's the case, then what can Fox News do, or what have they done potentially already that might muzzle Tucker Carlson until 2024? Do you think he has not an NDA, but he's a non-compete? I mean, if he's fired, they can't avail themselves to a muzzle clause unless they fired him for cause. I mean, where do you go with it?
Well, I think the breakdown we did last week was confirmed just within a week in two aspects. One, that Tucker had a unique audience, unlike pretty much all of his predecessors at Fox, and that would show up in the ratings at Fox, and it showed up fast. They lost more than half of the 8 o'clock hour audience. And the other prediction was that it would bleed over into these people that come on, Hannity and Ingram, after him, and it did. They lost up to a third of their audience. You're talking about millions of views every single night. You're talking about, when you add that up, you're probably talking about, in terms of lost hours of views, something on the neighborhood of 1 billion hours of views they're going to lose over the next year. That's why their stock did not fully rebound at all after the announcement of his firing. It appears they're still down about $500 million. And that appears to be a fair estimate as to how much they lost every year. They're losing $50 million at least in value. And that translates into diminished economic value of $500 million on the conservative side, maybe worse over time. So I think that's you're talking about something like 10% or so of Murdoch's net worth being at risk because of this disastrous decision to fire Tucker Carlson. The second aspect was that that Tucker would not go gently into that good night, but would likely he would be offered alternatives that are actually more lucrative than what Fox's contract was. That has already happened. Newsmax has announced a $25 million a year offer, and apparently what's been leaked is that he was only getting paid $16 million a year, which was about half what I thought he would be getting paid at Fox, given his value to Fox. And Newsmax was talking about not only full editorial control, but letting him actually pick other people at the network. I mean, basically letting him run the network. Basically, it'd be Tucker TV is what they're talking about. That gives you an idea for how the other people, his competitors, recognize his true market value. Tucker himself put out a short video in which what he previewed is a Joe Rogan style long form podcast discussion that's probably visual and audio of in-depth discussion of topics not being discussed, with meaningful debate, returning it to kind of like firing line with Buckley, combined with Joe Rogan, combined with Tucker style, probably focused on populist topics to engage in meaningful debate and discussion, free of the corporate gatekeeping that Fox did, free of the censorship control that corporate advertisers maintain. So there are photos put out this week by Alex Jones and his wife of him and Tucker hanging out. That may have been a few weeks ago, but gives you an idea for some relationships. James O'Keefe put out some favorable things. So, James O'Keefe might be part of some operation like that as well. So I think you're going to see it. And then the question become, Megyn Kelly noted that Fox seemed to be playing dirty with Tucker and how they handled it, threatening that they had some dossier leaked, that they had some negative dossier to Tucker. They don't understand that. None of that's going to motivate Tucker one iota. The bogus lawsuit that the New York Times tried to blame on it, was just a lefty, another lefty producer managed to weasel her way into working at Fox, who was on the eve of getting fired for incompetence, who's never even met Tucker, who's apparently her primary complaint was she didn't like all the Christmas decorations around. So, I mean, not a credible legal claim whatsoever. But the Megyn Kelly floated the idea, and others, as to whether a non-compete agreement would basically censor Tucker. Well, first of all, Fox can't enforce that with actual censorship. So Tucker can go do whatever he wants. They could sue Tucker for economic damages if they have a non-compete provision. But there's 3 problems with that. One, it was leaked that they just fired him and that they interpreted as firing with cause. Well, if that's the case, then they don't have any enforceable non-compete arrangement in place. So they're going to have not fired him and continue to pay him if they're going to try to enforce a non-compete. Second, it's what's called efficient breach in the law. Comes from the law and economics school of law. Some of their ideas are very good. Some of their ideas are nonsense. There's a mixture of the two. I once wrote in law school that law and economics theory justified, which was advanced by Richard Posner, that Richard Posner might have to be murdered in the name of his own law and economics theory because it was a rational choice. I forget how I got there, but I was not a Posner fan. Still am not. But some of their aspects are rational. Their efficient breach argument is there's times when it makes more sense to breach the contract for economic purposes for almost all parties. So, for example, I mean, what they could sue him for is they couldn't sue him to prevent him from speaking. They couldn't sue him from competing. They could sue him for the financial damage that they think the breach of the non-compete has caused. They generally don't enforce with injunctive relief, especially as to speech and press matters, non-competes. There'll be issues about the efficacy of the non-compete, the scope of the non-compete, and its application to say, for example, if he did his own long form podcast, I don't think that competes. Like if they were going to argue, well, this competes with Fox Nation. Well, it doesn't when you've terminated them. So, the people terminating Fox Nation because Tucker's no longer on there is because Tucker's no longer on there, not because he's competing. If he goes on and later competes, that's on Fox. So they don't have any damages. So the short answer is no, they cannot effectively censor him using a non-compete. And my guess is the non-compete would not be enforceable against where Tucker plans on going. And even if it was, it would just be Tucker reimbursing whatever some value that was. And again, it's hard to enforce a non-compete when you yourself terminate that person from being allowed to speak on your network.
Here, and I'll bring this up. I think this is it right here. Oh, the Adam Kinzingers of the world reveling in what they think is bad news for Tucker, which I think is going to be good news in the long run. But we won't watch the entire thing. Just
good evening. It's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country. Kind and decent people, people who really care about what's true, and a bunch of hilarious people also. A lot of those. It's got to be the majority of the population, even now. So that's heartening. The other thing you notice when you take a little time off is how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are.
See, we won't play the whole thing. I think many people have seen it, but it seems like.
Well, no, more people watched that than watched all of Fox News last week.
No, I don't know how many millions of views that had. And then you got
close to 100 across all platforms.
It's ridiculous. And then you got Adam Kinzinger saying, don't let the door hit your butt on the way out. Like these.
Yeah, and the Pentagon was excited because now they think their war whoring will go, the Sebastian Gorkas of the world will have no competition. Guess again. I mean, the fact that 2-minute clip was watched by more people than watched every Fox News show all week long, tells you just how important and influential Tucker's voice is and how the new platforms, I think that, a Rumble exclusive deal would make a lot of sense. A lot of other places would make a lot of sense. That's the future. And they're funding that future. They're supporting that future. They're enabling that future by removing him. And what they're doing is discrediting Fox, who is a critical gatekeeper for the deep state on a range of conservative topics. And they've basically they thought they were kicking him out of the gated community, and they didn't realize what they really did was tear down the gates instead.
Yeah, I was listening to a number of journalists comment on the fact that the Pentagon and these military heads and the media itself happy that Tucker Carlson is out because now it's going to make it easier for them to control public opinion and manufacture the consent that they have always wanted to support the war in Ukraine, Iraq, all this other stuff. I was listening to Dave Smith on Joe Rogan. It's dangerous to listen to that because it's enraging when Smith is incredibly well-informed and you just listen to everything the governments have done, and now they're celebrating the fact that they're going to have an easier time manufacturing the required consent to continue promoting these wars, proxy wars. It's amazing. We'll see what happens with Tucker. Pavlovsky, I know nothing that's private at all. Pavlovsky replied to the tweet when Tucker put out that video. So everybody obviously has their eye on the ball because Tucker Carlson is the ball.
Everybody else understood the importance more than the deep state and Fox did. That they understood that Tucker was a unique and idiosyncratic voice with a unique audience that would follow him and reject people that reject him. And they didn't understand that, just like they don't understand Trump. And no better example of that than the insanity of that lawsuit trial with that crazy judge by Robert Gouvet's coverage. But you followed it more than I have. If Viva was to give a verdict on the jury, what would it be for Miss Carroll? Would it be the penthouse or the nut house?
It would be look, I knew this is like what's her name? Christine Blasey Ford on steroids. And I remember at the time trying to be the good guy, like I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. How can it take someone 30 some odd years to come up with a story of gang, train, assault of the most egregious nature at a high? How could Kavanaugh have gotten through all of the prior intelligence investigations and clearances? Okay, here, I'll steel man Christine Blasey Ford's position. Listen to this. I mean, batshit crazy, Rob. There's no other way to put it. There's no other way to put it. I hadn't seen this clip But Trump's attorneys are presenting it as evidence. This is what's her name? Carol Jean?
Something or another.
Listen to this, people. And I'm watching Robert Gouveia at like 2x to try to get through this trial because I'm not following it. It's funny, like he's following Inner City Press, who's doing this day. And I'm following Inner City Press. I'm following Gouveia. I'm reading the news just to like triangulate all of this from the perspective of the guy who's there, of the guy who's doing lengthy analysis, and the bullshit media that cover. Listen to this, though. Listen to this. And
the question about this ordeal involves an assault by Donald Trump in a dressing room. And it involves the R word, which he's going to drop right here.
It's not the R word.
But we are asking questions about her understanding of what that word means. Here's what she said on CNN.
You don't feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
Well, I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
What?
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
Let's take a break.
We're going to take a quick break.
Yeah, cut it.
We'll talk more on
this.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Cut it. Cut it.
You're fascinating to talk to Anderson. I don't think anybody has ever said that to Anderson Cooper. Okay. Long story short, she's crazy. I mean, I didn't know that she had also accused multiple people of sexual impropriety. The fact
that Trump was trying to poison her. She had multiple drafts of a book she was trying to sell at this time with multiple versions of what took place. She can't remember the date. She can't remember. I don't even think she can remember the month or the year.
Can't remember the month of the year, but remember. That's sort of. I can understand people not being able to remember the month of the year, but the time. But to pinpoint the time, and you've been. The idea to say that most people, it's fantasy, like it's if they and there's nothing sexual about rape. I'm trying to steel man again. Yeah, it's not about sexual. It's not about sex. It's about dominance but fantasy. I mean, the fact that she perceives this as fantasy and it slips out in an interview with Anderson Cooper and catches him so much off guard, it explains how she sees it and accuses it of multiple other men. So she her opening statements, from what I understood, or that of her counsel, because there's no cameras in there, was what did they say? A promise? It was what I think Gouveia said, like fantastical things with no details, no dates, no maybe the times of stuff that she's going to have to prove. There's been no detail. That being said, the judge seems to be wildly anti-Trump, as if that's anything new, withholding or not allowing to be presented to the jury the fact that this entire lawsuit is being bankrolled by some anti-Trump billionaire. I forget the name of the person.
The LinkedIn guy.
Yep, the LinkedIn guy. And there's another element of evidence that's not being allowed to be submitted to the jury, is that above and beyond her having accused multiple other men of sexual assault, I think she accused her ex-husband, who is black or a minority, and she allegedly used some racist terminology to describe him. That's not going to be let in because apparently the jury's mixed race. And I can understand that being too prejudicial for its probative value. But accusing multiple other men of sexual assault, and then she, but she describes it this way to Anderson Cooper. Crazy. I mean, I'd be done. Because I don't think I'd have to see video evidence, medical reports, of which there's none, and of which there's none. It's just a crazy person who's fabricating out of whole cloth these decades-old accusations of sexual assault. But hey, take your chances in front of a jury. It doesn't matter if it should never have been. This is civil, so it's not criminal. Not a question of whether or not it should have been prosecuted. Take your chances. A jury can suspend disbelief. So that's it.
Yeah, I mean, only the biased judge and a biased jury, and the only somewhat decent, some real weaknesses in Trump's defense lawyers could produce a verdict adverse to him, because the facts sure don't. The facts, I mean, I thought she was crazy, but I didn't realize the scale of it. I mean, you see Anderson Cooper, somebody in the locals chat said that she just mind raped Anderson Cooper live on TV. But Anderson Cooper is so desperate. Go to a break. We got a loon alert. You can see why the media has not been putting her on much after that. You can see why her book sales didn't do well. People just around her realize, oh, she's
crazy. And now it can't be hidden during a trial, but we'll see. I mean, they're going to convict. Everything has been weaponized, Robert. These are kangaroo courts where it's show me the man and I'll fabricate the crime and ratify the fabrication.
Speaking of some crazy legal matters, we won't get into the interpersonal stuff because I could care less. Crowder versus Crowder. What was interesting was the wraparound smear campaign component. But one thing that I recommend people to do to learn the methodologies of good reasoning, use the best of the adversarial legal process to improve your reasoning skill set, your understanding. One of the tricks of the adversarial process is that you don't improve. You're never going to make reason the master of motivation. Motivation is always going to be the master of reasoning. It's a trick that's necessary for the survival of the human mind. B's Restaurant is fantastic in Chattanooga, Tennessee, by the way. Food, took Viva there. Best. It's the exact same recipes as when I was 5 years old in my nice little Sunday suit. We got to go there once a couple of times a year as a special privilege, getting out the Lazy Susan with the fried chicken, barbecue. All the rest was fantastic.
Robert, and I now know what a Lazy Susan is. Like, I don't think I ever knew what a Lazy Susan was, but now I think I understand. I mean, it's a turntable of food. It's like you sit down and you spin this thing around and the food comes around to you. But Robert, before we get into the Crowder, let's do it on Rumble. Everybody link to Rumble. Going to end this on YouTube. And then after we're done on Rumble, we're going to go exclusive after party at Locals. Okay, ending on YouTube right now. Link is in the pinned comment. Link is right down in the bottom. Head on over to Locals and Rumble now.